Good morning, everyone. There's some seats in the front. If the venue is too full, there's also streaming available. We're about to start. Good morning. My name is Vinnie Pillay, and I'm the Chief Director for International Resources at the South African Department of Science and Innovation. We have our Director General, Dr. Phil Mjwaka, joining us here today, Excellencies, Ambassadors, distinguished guests, and all Science Forum participants. It gives me such pleasure to see the room quite full this morning and to welcome you to the closing session of our Science Forum South Africa 2023. Before we proceed, we would like to invite a colleague from the CSIR ICC to do a quick safety briefing. I don't see it, so maybe we'll continue. Okay. As we draw to the close of the Science Forum 2023, it is heartwarming to see so many friends of Science Forum. Many of you know we went virtual and online in the last few years, and the Science Forum is about igniting conversations about science. And it's in no small measure over the last few days we've noticed activity, we've noticed networking. There's been a real buzz at the exhibition area, in the panel discussions, in the networking receptions, and that's what we wanted for the Science Forum. So we are very pleased that this is part of the result of this year's edition of the Science Forum. Over the years, the Science Forum has evolved to become a premier platform for public engagement on science, technology, and innovation in South Africa. And of course, it continues to hold a strategic place in the calendar of global STI events. The theme for this year's event has been igniting conversation about science. People, partnerships, priorities for the Decadal Plan. And if you look around, and you would have noticed from your engagements, we've attracted a variety of stakeholders, ranging from policymakers, academia, civil society, youth, women who have engaged in the debate, and have networked and hopefully created opportunities for implementation to address our challenges, not just nationally, but globally as well. For this year, we've had about 4,500 registrations. The week kicked off with a set of side events, 27 side events hosted by various partners, both internationally and nationally, which set the scene for some of the discussions taking place under the Science Forum program. Just some statistics as well. You know, we had about 77 exhibitions, international partners, local partners. We had a program that ran under 9 sub-themes. And of course, we were oversubscribed even on the content. And therefore, you've had so many parallel discussions happening at the same time because we wanted to accommodate as many discussions and debates as possible. Throughout the Science Forum, we've also been inspired. There's been inspirational discussions, such as the origins of the universe. We've been challenged to make actionable impact, and we have reaffirmed the transformative role that science and technology plays in society. For this morning's closing, we have a few highlights. We will have a panel on partnerships for science, technology, and innovation in Africa, addressing global and local challenges. We also will have the presentation of the TIA Grassroots Innovation Awards, and of course, the best exhibitions at the Science Forum South Africa. I now would like to invite my colleague, Ms. Yudi Mabuza, who's the Department of Science and Innovation's Senior Science and Innovation Representative in Brussels at our embassy there, who will be the moderator of this panel discussion. Yudi?
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. As my colleague has just introduced me, I'm Yudi Mabuza, and I'm the Senior Science and Innovation Representative based in Brussels. I'm honored to do this moderating this exciting session, which is a very dynamic, but also the final session for the Science Forum. And the session is titled Partnership for Science, Technology, and Innovation in Africa, in regards to addressing global and local challenges. It is well known that in addressing global challenges such as climate change and infectious diseases, food security, and so forth, international science partnership is important. It is further known that Africa faces a range of local challenges that vary across countries and regions, such as poverty and inequality, amongst others. Therefore, does African science need international cooperation to progress? Does global science need collaboration in Africa? What should be done to unleash the full potential of international science cooperation with Africa? So in addressing this topic, but also these specific questions that I've just mentioned now, I have a very diverse and distinguished large panel that comprises of dignitaries from the African continent, Europe, United Kingdom, Asia, and Americas. We also have policymakers and funders in this regard. So allow me to ask my panel to come through to the stage, and I will not read their CVs as they are already available within the program on the website, but I'll just call them by their name. Can I ask Professor Mugabe to come through? And Prof. Quindrian, Ambassador Kramer, Dr. Smith. Yeah, I think, yeah. Then the next, yeah, going right up to the end. And Prof. Nelwa Mondo to come through. Then I have Dr. Steinfeld. High Commissioner Philipson. Minister Councillor Shen. Dr. Kosi Gardner. And Ms. Morgan. Thank you. While we get them all settled. Good, thank you. Thank you very much. So I will allow our distinguished panel to just give us their thoughts and inputs to the questions that were raised in regards to partnering with Africa on science. And I'm going to start first with Prof. Mugabe. You've played and are continuing to play a crucial role in the development of Pan-African strategies for science, technology, and innovation, including through the current role that, at the African Development Bank. Do you think that international partnerships are important for Africa? And if yes, how should they be best organized?
Thank you.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I have learned over the years that all protocols are observed.
Number one.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Yes, I'll go straight to the questions. And I'm going to make my remarks in my personal capacity. I'll not be speaking for the African Development Bank or the University of Pretoria where I work. I want to make a number of general points, and these points are informed by my experience over the last 25 years or so working in the continent on science, technology, and innovation. And I was actually surprised by the first question, whether international partnerships matter for Africa. The answer is without them, forget about African science, technology, and innovation. Full stop. Without international partnership, we actually would not be meeting here, from my experience. So that's I think is clear. But I want to emphasize that not everything that is tagged partnerships, STI partnerships, is actually partnerships. Within the continent, between the continent and other regions of the world, you have all kinds of collaborative, cooperative, STI engagements, but they actually do not constitute partnerships. They are very short-term activities, projects, very scattered, and to a large extent not driven by the continent. So in my view, and we've written about this, that they're actually just collaborations, but they are not partnerships. And I'll go back to this point. The other point I want to emphasize that without strong intra and inter-African partnerships, forget about African engagement in international partnerships. So if within African countries you don't have STI partnerships, within the continent, within the regions, you don't have inter-partnerships, either bilateral, multilateral through the regional economic communities, you cannot have effective, enduring partnerships or engagements between Africa and the rest of the world. So I argue that, in fact, for us to have beneficial, equitable partnerships, international partnerships for Africa, STI partnerships, we need, first of all, to build African partnerships. It's just that basic. We can go around, have many engagements with Brussels, but if there's no, if you don't have strong African partnerships, you forget about international partnerships benefiting Africa. The other point I want to make is that leadership matters for Africa, Africa's engagement in international partnerships. And I can give you many examples. Those African countries that possess leaders or leadership that is keen on building these international partnerships do very well in international partnerships. They exploit international partnerships for their own benefit. Those that do not have leadership, and I can mention countries, since I'm not speaking on behalf of any government. I mean, where we are, you have a relatively strong leadership for international STI partnerships. You can go to East Africa, you'll find Rwanda. And the systems, these two systems are dynamic because of international partnerships that are driven from high level. And we've published about these cases. The last point, I know I'm running out of my 4 minutes. I just want to emphasize that trust matters. Trust matters. Trust within, again, Africa, trust between Africa and the other regions for these bi-regional partnerships to matter. Then accountability. There are only partnerships if Africa is putting something in, if Africa and the partners are also accountable. It's not just people coming together. So accountability in terms of financing the partnerships. And I think the challenge, from my experience, is really that. Africa gets money from the European Union, from Canada and others, but we don't see African money on the table. And then we complain here that, the agenda is being set out. The African researchers are always complaining they play second-hand roles, but there's no African money on the table. We are using taxpayers' money from Europe and other places. So I just want to emphasize that accountability matters, and that accountability is associated with the African funding for international partnerships. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Mugabe. I think that is very thought-provoking. And I'm going to then interconnect that. Prof. Quinton, having heard the African perspective, what do you think as a global leader, both nationally as Cubic's chief scientist, but also globally as the president of the International Network for Government Science Advice? What do you think global science needs Africa?
Well, merci. Thank you very much. And it's certainly a big yes. Global science need Africa. We saw that in a recent example with the pandemic. Being very open science all over the world. China, North America, Europe, and Africa, especially here, South Africa, being a major contributor in science, scientific knowledge related to the pandemic. So the early months were great. Then after that, if I may, politics sink in and borders start to close. We have to learn from that. We cannot repeat that. We have to be very open. We need Africa in relation to global change, to climate change, in relation to the next upcoming pandemic, etc., etc. So we must develop stronger ties, stronger link with Africa as a continent and the various countries in Africa. With my hat as Quebec chief scientist, first we have a partnership with various countries in Africa, various funding organizations here in South Africa with NRF, but also with Tunisia, Senegal, Rwanda, and Morocco, and we're open for business. And really there we try to be as equal as possible. Then my other hat as president of the International Network for Government Science Advice. Well, our head office is here in Pretoria at Future Africa with a chapter, a very strong chapter in Africa. And here one of the objectives is to build capacity in science advice. But if we want to be able to give science advice, we need science. So it's very important that Africa build even more its scientific capacity globally.
Thank you very much, Prof. I'm going to move to the European continent, and I'm going to ask you, Ambassador Kramer. The EU over several decades has invested in collaboration in Africa on science, research funding, development cooperation programs. Why is the EU doing this? And will it continue to prioritize science cooperation in Africa?
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Very much pleasure to be here, and thank you very much for inviting me. I'm the European Union Ambassador to South Africa. And why are we doing this? Why is the European Union so committed to partnership in science and innovation? Well, that's because in the world that we live in today, we're facing a lot of global challenges that are common to everyone. Climate change, or very rapid digitalization, or inequalities, or demography challenges. And all these challenges we know nobody can actually face on their own. We need to collaborate in this world. And in that global landscape, Yuri, we are committed to promote multilateralism and openness, particularly in science and innovation. Why? Because we require global solutions, and we want research and innovation to be based on rules and values, to be based on academic freedom, gender equality, research ethics, open science, and evidence-based policymaking. And the openness is simple. Nobody can win the innovation race by erecting barriers. So we have to work together with the rest of the world. And that, in short, is the answer, Yuri, to your question. So how do we roll that out? Well, we have a very important program called Horizon. And I think quite a lot of you know Horizon. It's the world's largest public research program. It has 100 billion euros commitment until 2027. And we have a specific Africa initiative under that Horizon Europe program, and that is 350 million with an additional 300 until the end of that period. And that's specifically for cooperation with Africa and for Africa. And the second thing that we do to roll this out is our Global Gateway strategy. And there we invest in infrastructure, hard and soft infrastructure, particularly in energy, transport and digital, but also health and education and research. And I think that is something that we're focusing on a lot. We have also the EU-Africa Union Innovation Agenda, the Earth observation and space, and also the regional centers of excellence. So all this is there, and we have a very long-standing relation. And you all perhaps know that because Judy is based in Brussels, and that's not for nothing. That's because we have that very, very strong relationship. South Africa is a very important partner for us in this respect. We work together with 118 South African organizations, and they can be universities, government departments, research institutions, and we've awarded through grants a total of nearly 40 million, and we have applications on our call for proposals from South Africa that are very good. So you have a very good score in getting your application, your proposals through. So I think the answer to that last question, Judy, is are we going to continue that? Very simply, and I know my time is limited, yes, we will. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Kramer. And I want to move and shift a little bit to a multilateral voice. And Dr. Smith, as the head of the Secretariat of the OECD's Global Science Forum, you keep a close eye on policy trends in global science cooperation. What is your perspective on the emerging or changing role of Africa in global science?
Thanks very much, yeah. So I'll try and answer that in the context of the Global Science Forum. So the Global Science Forum is a science policy forum. It's coming up to 25 years of existence now. And from the outset, from the very first meeting, South Africa was involved. South Africa's position in the Global Science Forum has evolved over those 25 years. I think it's fair to say at the outset that South Africa was there to listen and learn. That was the position that South Africa took 25 years ago. As things have moved on, it was more about mutual learning, and South Africa found it actually could contribute, and other countries could also learn from South Africa. And now it's about leadership. In certain topics, South Africa is actually leading in terms of the policy agenda. So if I take a couple of examples, on research infrastructures, initially we were talking about roadmaps and things like that, how to plan your investments in research infrastructures. South Africa took that and turned that into a South African roadmap. And then it developed the SKA, and some of those early discussions around the SKA actually took place within the Global Science Forum. But now with the SKA, it's leading the world, not only in terms of frontier science, but how do we integrate frontier science into the development of a country and a continent in terms of digital? All the countries in the OECD are now interested in how South Africa did that. And we've just done a monograph, in fact, with Daniel Adams, and many of you knew Daniel, but one of his last efforts was to produce a monograph for OECD, the Global Science Forum, on the development of the SKA. The second area is research careers and young scientists. We started working on that about 6 years ago. We did an initial project around precarity in research. And South Africa participated. Now we're looking at equity, diversity, and inclusion. All OECD countries are interested in that. South Africa is leading in many of the policies that it is implementing in that area in relation to young researchers. So what is the goal of South Africa now, having shifted? What is its goal in relation to... and South Africa, I think, also has a critical role in representing Africa, or as a pathway into Africa. Of course, it isn't the whole of Africa. I'm very conscious of that. But I think South Africa can play a critical role as a neutral broker or convener. I think, the times are difficult. Geopolitically, things are shifting a lot. As you see with this panel, that is pretty unique that South Africa at a meeting like this can pull together a panel with the sort of stakeholders that we have here. So I think there's a critical role for South Africa in that sort of brokering, neutral convener position. And then to finish and follow up on that, Dan asked us, he said, no, this is the last session of the conference. Can you say something funny or can you be provocative? So I've learned working internationally that British humor doesn't always work. And so I won't say anything funny. Although, you see, people are laughing, so it's already, that's good. But maybe to be a little bit provocative, when we think about international partnerships and the current geopolitical climate and what is happening, I think it's really important that we don't over-instrumentalize science. We must respect academic freedom and autonomy if we're going to build the sort of trusted relationships that we need for science. And the role of politics in that, of course, science has to address social needs, and South Africa in many ways is leading in that. But politics needs to support science, but it has to be very careful when it interferes with science. And I think that relates to all of us as individual countries and the way we manage our science and our science policies, but also our international partnerships.
Thank you very much, Dr. Smith, for that provocative input. Moving on from multilateral perspective, we go into a local funder. And Prof. Nelomondo, you head South Africa's National Research Foundation, which is one of Africa's largest public funders of research. The NRF also has an extensive portfolio of international partnerships. Why do these matter to you, and what are your future plans to co-invest with partners?
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. That's a very loaded question. And you are not giving me enough time to break it down, but I'll try in the next 4 minutes. Esteemed colleagues, just to give context before I jump to the question, the NRF's mandate is largely in 4 areas. The first one being to support human capacity development and research in all areas of science. The second one being to develop, support and maintain the national research facilities. You mentioned the SKA, but it's all these big research facilities that cannot necessarily be placed in one particular institution. We also have a mandate that talks about the promotion of public awareness, but more than that, to have the public engage with science. And lastly, promoting the development, the maintenance of the national science system, and ensuring that all the government priorities can be supported effectively. So when you come to the issue of partnership, which is a question that you're asking me, there are a few things that if you ask any person anywhere in the world, even those countries that seem to have enough resources, everyone will tell you that we don't have enough resources, we don't have enough funds for research. Almost everyone. I've never seen any country that says what I have is enough. Everyone agrees that we need to make impact in various forms, but the key component is that everyone is chasing making societal impact. You know, science is a social good. You can go on and on around that. Everyone agrees that we need to have our science system sustainable. Sustainability is also one of the areas. And I can go on and on the list of things that everyone in the world agrees on in terms of what we want the science system to do. The key part, colleagues, is that many of our urgent and emergent issues of our time require scientific enterprise to engage in an innovative and evidence-informed way. And I think we all agree on this part. So partnerships then become perhaps a necessity on the basis that they help us in reflecting and amplifying the areas that we in the science community need to be focused on, if science has to contribute to social impact. It is through the partnerships that we realize the importance of disrupting the current science system, which I believe has to be disrupted. We cannot continue the same way that we've been continuing. It's a question of what kind of disruptions we need to actually advance. And this will then ensure that the science system is well representative and highlights some of the critical insights for the development of us and, of course, for the future. So why do these partnerships matter? Quickly, the first one is they help us in increasing the collaborative initiatives. I think my colleagues have mentioned that, you know, we have similar problems in one way or another. If you go to health, it matters not whether you're in the global north or you're in the global south. So there are all these issues that are very common across everyone. And we are better off when we align our efforts, given that everyone says they don't have enough resources. Issues of skills development, issues of STI support in various elements, long-term development of, you know, skills of the future. We are talking about AI in various areas. Again, almost everyone doesn't really know how to get the solution uniquely. So we have to work as a collaboration. So therefore, we also have to look into ensuring that the kind of partnerships that we create can be shared. We can share the knowledge, we can share the skills, and ensure that we work as one planet. We work as, you know, one unit across all areas. So you ask the question around what is the key plan. I think the key plan or the future plan is to ensure that in areas where we have these partnerships, we can support them as much as we can. And this is the area where, from my perspective, we need to then co-invest, where there's a need to co-invest. But there are areas where I think we just have to find ways of, again, administering those kind of assistance that we're getting. Just one example, earlier in the morning, the session before this, we were launching a very good partnership with the Botna Foundation. And that's a very good component where we are saying, let's work with someone who's willing to assist us, and we will just make sure that we manage this and we ensure that the work, that the supports can be realized. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Prof. Dr. Steinfeld, international philanthropy is a major supporter of science in Africa, especially in sectors such as health. So in light of your experience of working with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, what do you think should be done to make philanthropy even more effective, even more of an effective partner for African science?
Thank you. That's a tough one. But I do think that, well, first of all, let me just demonstrate. We were told, as has been pointed out, not to be a little unreserved, to be provocative. So, on that note, philanthropy, I think, is really different. You know, as opposed to government or NGO or private sector funding, I think philanthropy is uniquely well positioned to be a little catalytic, you know, a bit of a troublemaker. Thus, we tear up our science. You know, I think one thing I'd like to point out is that it's clear to the Gates Foundation and to other philanthropies that it's all here. I mean, you've got all the resources you need. And, you know, science is not only, as many have said, not just about resourcing, it's about impact. And from the meetings that we've seen, you know, here, this room full of folks, and the convening power evidenced by this fabulous panel, it's all here. You've got all the tools you need to make this happen, and the donors will align. And I think the big thing is that, yes, of course we need partnerships, because that's what's going to bring the disciplines together, you know, because it's going to take transdisciplinary approaches to solve the world's most pressing problems. They've all been referred to, whether it's climate or unemployment or pandemics or migration. Everybody knows what the problems are, but the resources are all here to find the solutions to those problems. And don't doubt it. the world is afraid. The overdeveloped world knows they need Africa. The overdeveloped world is addicted to growth, for example. This is the place that growth is going to happen. The overdeveloped world needs the supply chains to develop the green technologies that are going to be the salvation for us all, and those are here too. And the smart people. So don't doubt that the world is going to pay attention. But the more you can align, as has already been said, with not just inter-institutional, but inter-country, regional, continental, global partnerships, the more people will listen. And co-owning your research results and making them into reality is also going to depend on those partnerships. So co-opt everybody and get them engaged and make them aware that they need to listen.
Thank you very much, Steve. I'm going to move over to the UK. High Commissioner Phillipson. The United Kingdom is also a historic partner for African science and innovation. In recent years, instruments such as the Newton Fund were successfully supporting cooperation in the continent. What plans do the UK have in building on this foundation?
Thank you very much indeed. It's a real pleasure to be here. I just would like to start by congratulating everyone from the Department of Science and Innovation for hosting what is clearly another successful, thought-provoking, provocative science forum, and it's great to be here with you all this morning. I don't think I've ever spoken on a panel of 10 people. I've certainly never spoken seventh on a panel of 10 people, and I completely endorse and agree with everything that the previous 6 speakers have said, and will try and attempt to say something that they haven't said. But no, it is a real pleasure just to have a few minutes to talk about the imperatives that we place as the UK on our science and research partnership with South Africa, but also from South Africa with the rest of Africa. It is just fundamentally important, as everyone has said. We all know that strengthening international collaboration, I mean, I think the first question that was asked is, do partnerships matter? You could have just said yes, and we could have wrapped up and gone for lunch. But anyway, since we're still here, you know, in an increasingly contested, complex, fast-paced world, dealing with all the challenges that have been mentioned, the only way out of it is going to be through scientific and innovation partnerships. And I completely agree that those partnerships are all here in Africa, and that is why it's just such a pleasure to do the job that I do with a number of people across the South African system. You know, we do recognize the importance of science diplomacy. We recognize the importance of these partnerships that are going to bring us together, building bridges between countries, fostering goodwill, just so essential actually not just for science, but our broader diplomatic and economic and political partnerships. Finding common ground, understanding how we're going to agree these priorities, and then deciding what to actually do about them rather than just talk about them, is of course the real key to all of this. We're very proud to be supporting the Science Granting Council's initiative, which we established alongside Canada's International Development Research Centre, and also South Africa's National Research Foundation, the NRF, and the Science for Africa Foundation. These programs, they strengthen African research systems through Pan-African knowledge exchange, through science partnerships that are just critical, producing locally and globally relevant evidence to address Africa and indeed the world's most pressing challenges. I am going to boast a little bit here, so just forgive me for a second, especially my other diplomatic colleagues on the panel. Back in 1995, the UK and South Africa signed an MOU covering our science, research, innovation and tech collaboration. I believe, and I will stand to be corrected either by DG Mujawara or DDG Dutoy, that was the first MOU signed by South Africa after the dawn of democracy in 1994. So we are very proud of that. We are also very proud that it's not the last MOU that we signed, because we signed another one in London in November last year when President Ramaphosa paid a state visit to the UK, and we were absolutely thrilled that as part of the President's delegation it included Science and Innovation Minister Nzimande, as well as DG Mujawara. So, we are updating these relationships, but we're also proudly celebrating the history of these relationships. In March this year, Dan Du Toit and I co-chaired a rather dryly titled joint commission meeting. But what it did was bring together teams from across the UK system and across the South African system to turn that MOU into action. And that was a really, really important sort of day that we spent together, turning, as I say, ambitions and into reality and into action. In June this year, I was absolutely thrilled. I'm delighted that people have mentioned the SKA, the Square Kilometre Array. I had the pleasure of joining Minister Nzimande and DG Mjwara for a visit to the SKA organisation headquarters in Jodrell Bank. Now, Yudi, you're giving me a bit of a wave and a bit of a hook, but I'll finally turn to your question, which is about the Newton Fund. The Newton Fund just did great work, and we are we are looking to build on the platform it created. Over the last couple of months, we have announced in various stages a new programme called the International Science Partnerships Fund, through which we are going to spend £337 million, or almost 8 billion rand, between now and 2025. And that is the short answer to your question. The detailed answer, which I'll not go into, you'll be delighted to hear, is that we're going to take all of the conversations that we have had in rooms like this today, all of the relationships and partnerships that we have developed with the South African government, to decide how we are going to roll this out here in South Africa. There will be more detail on that, and I look forward to further events to celebrate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, High Commissioner. We really appreciate that. And I'd like to shift gears a bit and move to the Asian continent. Minister Councillor Shane, also China has an extensive science cooperation with Africa, including as part of the Belt and the Road, including of the Belt and Road partnerships. What are the highlights of this cooperation? And do you have any insights to share how international cooperation with Africa can be improved?
Okay, thank you. You see, African continent not only face the global challenge like climate change, food security, and public health, and also you have your own epic challenge like poverty problem and infrastructure, and also some education. Yeah. So if you want to solve this challenge, you can't rely on yourself. You have to cooperate with international partners. And China, US, EU, something like. And also, international partners also need African countries to cooperate each other. You see, right now, the big population is India, and China is the second one. But I do believe in future, Africa will be the biggest population in the world. So in the late future 30 years, more than 60% of increased young people will be coming from the African continent. So young people is our future. So Africa continent is the future of the world. We should cooperate each other. And also, we can cooperate each other in many areas. China, in last decades, China did a lot to cooperate with African countries, not only in the traditional industry, but also in science and technology. And you see, last decades, China cooperated with or helped African countries build up 10,000 railways and 100,000 highways, about 1,000 bridges and 100 ports. And also, Chinese government sent more than 23,000 medical teams to many African countries and treated more than 230 million African patients. And for the STI, the Chinese government encouraged not only government, but also universities, research institutes, and private companies to cooperate with African countries. Like for the new infrastructure, you see, more than 70% of 4G stations is built by Huawei company in African continents. So, and also, we have already, there are young scientists exchange program. Many African young scientists went to China to study in China and work in China, and also Chinese scientists came to African countries. And also, we have already built joint research centers. For example, in South Africa, there are 10 joint research centers between China and South Africa. And in future, we are encouraged to build more joint research centers. And you see, in August this year, during the BRICS summit, Chinese President Xi Jinping, and cooperated with your President Ramaphosa, hosted the China-African dialogue. At that time, Chinese President Xi Jinping raised 3 proposals. China would like to cooperate with African countries to help you to develop the industry, modernization, and modernizing agriculture, and also talent development. Just last month, Chinese government organized the Belt and Road International Science and Technology Conference and launched the International Science and Technology Cooperation Initiative, and also launched the 4 Spatial Action Plan. So in future, China will cooperate with countries alongside the Belt Road, especially African countries, in 4 areas: green and sustainable development, space, information, poverty alleviation, and innovation and entrepreneurship. So I know in South Africa you face your 3 challenges: jobless, poverty, and inequity. In China, I just give you an example. Just Alibaba, one company, they developed the spatial platform for the digital economy. And just one company create 8 million jobs in China. So if you want to develop the digital economy, you have your policy, you want to develop your digital economy. We can work together, cooperate each other, help you to develop the digital economy and also create new jobs. And also, for space science, China now have already developed Beidou navigation system and also launched many remote sensing satellites. We can cooperate each other, use this platform to help you to develop the smart cities, smart transportations, smart agriculture. So, in what? We can do a lot in science and technology cooperation. And also, I would like to give you some suggestions how to improve the cooperation between China and African continents. First, you have to open your policy, open and reform. I know you have a painful memory of colonial history, but now we have already reached the 21st century, so you're a bit open to the world. You have to make a new policy, welcome the foreign invest, welcome the multinational companies to come here to invest here, and encourage multinational company to build the R&D centers in here. And also, you have make special incentives to support STI cooperation between foreign countries and African countries. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Councillor. Greatly appreciated. I'm going to shift gears again, and I go back to a philanthropic organization, Dr. Kosi Gardner. Earlier today, the foundation partner and South Africa's National Research Foundation, together with the Human Sciences Research Council, announced a very exciting new partnership. Can you tell us a bit more about the cooperation and how it aligns with the views of the panelists on cooperation with Africa?
Thank you very much. So first, it's bad news because I really subscribe to very much to everything what was said. And it's difficult to be provocative, but maybe I want to reveal something. In my discussion with, you know, when you are at the foundation, everybody asks you how you can do to get money. And, and some people from Western or some high-income country ask me, okay, now we really are frightened because organizations from Africa or low-income countries, you have raised the bar and you get the money directly. So I think you can be proud of that. And I really experienced this in this collaboration that is starting. So basically, who is Fondation Botnar? We are a Swiss philanthropy foundation, and we engage for the well-being of young people. And we really try to take what we call a basic principle that we have is this relational approach to well-being, which really is about being collaborative, being respectful of the context, and having a systemic lens. So basically, it's then in the nature of our work to really move and empower and really get the leadership of what's happening within the context that we want to support. We are in 5 or 6 countries in Africa, but about 11 countries worldwide. And we have 2 major initiatives now going, one in collaboration with UK government, which is the big mental health initiative, which is the largest initiative for the mental health of young people, which is led, a piece of research is going to be funded and from the content led by the Science for Africa Foundation. And now YouGood, and here we are, we have entered this partnership. We take our time because partnership, as you mentioned, Professor Mugabe, it's not the same thing as collaboration, but it takes time. It took us 2 years to install this partnership. The foundation, it's taking time. We work also in some cities like in Tanga, in Tanzania, and we really invest in the long term to start to build the trust and really from the context take across the sectors, all the stakeholders together, and they divide, they define their priorities, their agenda, and then we try to fund and try to adapt to what they really need. So I think, yes, we need the collaboration and the need that it takes place here because you are owner of your needs and your problem and you have the resource to deal with them. So together, we can move this. So I just want to subscribe also because I was in another meeting led by the Velux Foundation, how we can develop the capacities of and support and research. But what you said, representing the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, yes, we align together, founders, we align together, but also you, if you align together to show what you expect and needs from founder, you are going to be much stronger. So I think the networks are going to be crucial.
Thank you very, very much. We've gone around the world and we're coming down back to the continent and very close to our region. And I want to lastly ask Ms. Morgan, you're playing a pioneering role in establishing the science, technology, and innovation programs of the Southern African Development Community, which is SADC. In your view, how should international cooperation best be organized to support of Africa's regional and continental programs?
Thank you, Yuri. Good afternoon, everybody. I think as the British High Commissioner said, I'm the 10th speaker, so I endorse everything that all the speakers have said. No, but thank you, Yuri, for the question. I think as all the partners have expressed in terms of partnerships, I think my view is that partnerships are evolving. They are changing. We are seeing the landscape change from historically how partnerships have been designed or brokered. And I say this within the context of SADC as a multilateral organization. I think we use SADC as a multilateral organization. Firstly, I would like to say that we should not underestimate the value of multilateralism, the power that multilateralism has, the power of multilateralism to bring voices together, to bring different decision makers together, to co-create. We were in a session this morning talking about co-creation in terms of policymakers. And we've seen this over time within the context of SADC. We've got a big agenda that we want to achieve as a region. I'd like to give an example of some of the partnerships that we have formulated. We have designed what we call the dialogue forums, which we call working groups. And these dialogue forums are like think tanks, and we are embracing bringing back the idea of think tanks, because think tanks have a key role to play, be it independent think tanks within the region. That these forums include all funding partners, which we call international cooperating partners, and we design them sector-based, so in ICT sector, in the water sector, in the health sector, in the infrastructure sector. So, for example, I'll take, in the water sector, we've got the dialogue forum, which meets twice in a year, and this is all the funders that come together in one room, and we discuss priorities, for example, related to water, regarding the SADC integrated water strategy. And then we ask voluntarily for partners to say who would like to co-chair the forum for the next 2 years with the Secretariat. And then, for example, Germany has been the co-chair for the water sector with the Secretariat. And we design what we call multi-annual plans for that priority sector. And we give budgets, but we also have a monitoring mechanism in terms of what it is we're going to implement for the programs. I'd like to give another example of a program we are implementing called Support to Industrial and Productive Sectors. This is a 5-year program that was launched in 2019, and it's a partnership between SADC Secretariat, the European Union, and Germany through GIZ. And it's focusing on developing 2 value chains, the ARV value chain and the leather value chain. And for the first time in the negotiation of the program of action for that partnership, we integrated issues regarding science, technology, and innovation. So for the first time, we awarded innovation grants in SADC concerning leather value chain and the AR value chain. As I speak, the grantees are here. We've invited them. They are part of the Science Forum, and we've funded projects in the leather value chain and in the ARV value chain. And these projects are looking at local issues within the value chain. I take example, the leather value chain, where the project is between Zimbabwe and Tanzania, because we put it as a criteria that it must be more than one country. And then we work with the local SMEs within the leather value chain and the leather associations. So, for example, the SMEs learned new skills and technology regarding hides. There was a lot of waste from the hides in the leather value chain, but because of the technologies that we introduced, they can now use that waste from the hides for something else. And this is really having an impact in the region where we are skilling the SMEs in the leather value chain. Similarly, within the ARV value chain, where we are looking at indigenous knowledge, indigenous medicine within the ARV value chain. And these are funded at very high value, at about $500,000 maximum, and others at about $600,000, which were awarded in terms of the innovation grants. Part of the same program, we've also built capacity on intellectual property, because we've also integrated intellectual property within the value chains to say how we can capacitate the SMEs, the industry, but also the policymakers around intellectual property. I'd also like to maybe highlight quickly that as part of the same program, we have come up with a fellowship program. Because in the studies that we've done, we've realized there's a shortage of industrial pharmacists in the SADC region. So we've identified that we need to build the capacity of industrial pharmacists. So we've identified a fellowship between 3 universities, Wits University, University of Zambia, and the Kilimanjaro School of Medicine. And as we speak, the fellowship has been launched. The students have traveled between the 3 universities, and we've brought in private sector in this fellowship. So we've got 3 pharmaceutical companies, one from Mozambique, one from Zimbabwe, and one from within South Africa, who are supporting the fellowships, so that these fellowships, the students will then do internships in those pharmaceutical companies. But taking it further, University of Zambia was teaching industrial pharmacy, but they don't have a laboratory to teach the pharmacists. So we are building a laboratory on industrial pharmacy at the University of Zambia as part of this program. And that's the value of partnerships in terms of collaboration. Thank you.
Brilliant. Very, very thought-provoking inputs that we've received. But I want to allow this time to have the audience engaging with the panel. And if there's any questions, comments, inputs, I'd like to give this opportunity now. And I will take, I think there's a question right at the back. I'm not sure if there are any roaming mics. And I can't see properly because of the light here. Yes, you can go through.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mr. Malasa Samal Mokhale from Mr. Malasa Samal Mokhale Business Enterprise. And then I heard we were talking about international partnerships. How do we get into these value chains as a township black-owned company? How do I get into the value chains of supply chain? How do I supply Huawei? How do I supply the Brussels embassy? How do I supply all these embassies in South Africa? How do I supply CSIR? Because there's always a barrier when it comes to access to market and also supply chain.
Is there another question maybe before? But it's a question related to small businesses and supplying international partners, but also embassies and so forth. I'm not sure if I captured that correctly.
Yes, definitely. You captured it correctly. I'll give you a certain context on Malasa Samal Mokhale Business Enterprise. We're incubated as a bank incubator. It's easy for us to do business with the banks. We're also doing business with Nedbank and also some government departments, but it's little. So in order to scale and employ the unemployed people in the township, I need about 10 million rand every month in revenue. So how do I get to scale my supply chain to supply you with computers? How do I supply with laptops? Things that they don't really need so much IP.
You got that? But I'll wait. I just want to take 2 more questions. I'll give the lady this side, yeah?
Hi, my name is Trixie and I'm a student at FIT. Can you hear me? Is it working? It is. Okay, sorry. So through the collaborations, I understand it's collaborations with Africa and all the other countries, right? Are we going to start having access to certain let's say, codes and foundations that they have? For example, with the COVID vaccine, we couldn't produce in South Africa because there were patents and all the politics around it. So if you're collaborating with Africa, are the other countries going to give Africa the same platforms? So if you're maybe having AI codes that are starting in the USA, are we going to be given the same access to them? Are we allowed to develop them as our own as well, since we're collaborating and we're all in this together?
We got that? Okay. One more that I'll take. Yes, sir?
Thank you. My name is Mpho Madisha, and I'm basically interested in the idea that there is no free lunch, and I'm interested in how collaborations, when they happen, how do we balance the need for the different institutions to retain a competitive edge while fostering the obvious need of collaborating. So I just want to hear how that balance can be maintained with the understanding that all institutions, all countries, they do have some lobbying to create partnerships with certain countries, South Africa in particular, and very well understanding that there's no free lunch.
Yeah. Thank you. I will allow the panelists to answer the three questions, and then I'll give another round after this. Then the first question, is there anyone who would like to take that? Or did you all hear it properly? Yeah. Yeah. I think it's on.
Okay. For the improving supply chain, you see, right now China is the biggest manufacturing country in the world. Chinese government always, ask all countries in the world can open to each other, not close to each other. And if you want to improve the supply chain, every country should open to each other. And also, if you notice, just in last week in Beijing, China organized the supply chain exhibition in Beijing. We help the world how we can cooperate each other in improving supply chain. And also we would like to cooperate with South Africa and also other African countries. For example, for your medicine or pharmaceutical industry, for the raw materials, you have to more than 60% raw material, medical material, you have to import from China, and about 40, you have to import from India. So we can cooperate each other, not just import the materials. We can cooperate each other and develop the pharmaceutical industries in South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The second one, I think, talked to the balancing the need of competitive edge and collaboration. Any takers in responding to that one?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know if it's the second one or the third one, but someone mentioned about no free lunch, and I kind of agree, but by collaborating, by working together, you can have a better lunch. So and one example, especially there is quite a few young people in the room here, having co-direction of PhD program, for example, to have the PhD from a university in South Africa in partnership with the university in France, for example. I think these type of structure open to different type of network and can be a winning proposition for everyone.
Okay, just short, 30 seconds, yeah. Please go ahead.
No, I just, on the first, because it was very difficult to hear, but I think it was about startups or scale-ups and how you can grow your business. If I'm totally wrong, sorry about that. I just want to say there's some very good initiatives here in South Africa to help startups and to help scale-ups. And there's something called Enrich Africa, which is based in Cape Town, but it is also across Africa, where you can actually find monitoring and help with scaling up your ideas. So that's perhaps one of the answers. And on the second, I think that's very much to the point what you were saying. What we saw, and you reminded us as well, on the awful COVID pandemic, is that the continent of Africa was very reliant on vaccines being given to them or for you to buy it on an international market. So in order to have the strategic autonomy, Africa should be able to manufacture vaccines, not for COVID, but for any pandemic that might come our way. And what we have initiated together with France, Belgium, Germany, the European Investment Bank and the EU is a vaccine manufacturing together with WHO, the World Health Organization, also in Cape Town. It's Afrigen and Biovac, and this is really exciting because they are very close. They're in clinical trials now, but they're very close to actually produce mRNA-based vaccines in Africa, for Africa, and that's where we want to go. And free lunch, I agree. Lunch in any case, I agree.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to again open the floor for 2 more questions. Yes.
My name is Aldi Strubel. I'm the DC Research at University of Mpumalanga. Thank you for the very good panel. There's extraordinary evidence of greater philanthropy and ODA networks that collaborate for greater impact. But my question is, what is the next step to bring supra-networks of funders together, both from the public sector and the private sector. Increasingly, there's only a regional approach or a project approach, although it is funded by a number of funders. But what is your vision for the next step? How do we make funding for partnerships and collaboration truly global?
Thank you. Any more takers? One? Okay. Yes.
Hello, my name is Butelo Chava. I had a few questions. The first question was, there are quite a lot of Western world countries in the panel, and they quite often discuss the collaborations. But as a high school student, I know nothing of this. They're not touching the ground, and these are the people that they expect to go into the science space, especially STEM careers. So, because a lot of people don't know about this, how do they expect to change that, and what significance does it have if we don't know about it? The second question is, during the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of Western world countries did change their mindset in the sense that they didn't give African countries vaccines easily. And so my question was, how do we ensure that the Western world does not change their mind in the future? How do we make sure it's not... How do we make sure that it... Yeah, thank you. That's all, thank you.
Thank you very, very much for that young and very provocative question. I'm going to give back to the panel to respond to the two questions. And any takers?
Yes, I'm not going to, the young lady there, very interesting, very complex questions. But I take the view that it's actually in time, only in times of crisis that you determine which partnerships work. Just like good marriages. And it's only during difficulties that you know whether it's really a partnership. And COVID taught us that. So don't get in, and this I think for countries, particularly African countries, don't get into every collaboration thinking that you are going to benefit from it. You have to be strategic. So how do you assess really that these partnerships work, do not work, are not impactful? And I always say, and I'm going to end at this, that some of these collaborations are actually wasteful. They are quite expensive. And we tend to get into all kinds of so-called partnerships. Do we have strategies for choosing which ones work for us? Again, like all marriages, they are quite expensive. So, can we have, as Africa, some strategies to enable us to choose our partners? Because we know, for example, you just don't mix them. There are different cultures. From my experience, you can't mix partners from certain parts of the north with partners from certain parts of the east. How do you manage those?
Yes, I think Dr. Smith. Yeah, it's on.
Yeah, I'll have a go with the high school student.
Yes.
So what I understood from your question was, how is what we're talking about relevant to you and your stage of learning and thinking? I think it's important. I presume, you've heard of the square kilometer array, and you look at the stars and you're interested in astronomy, for example. It's important to understand that that is built on a huge international collaboration, that science operates internationally. And without that international collaboration, you wouldn't have the square kilometer array. We wouldn't know what was happening in the night sky. Similarly, you've probably heard of the human genome. You've probably done quite a lot around DNA. You understand some of the principles of that. Again, all of that is based on international cooperation in science. So I think the important message is it's important for you that South Africa is involved in those international scientific collaborations. And if you want to be a scientist, you should be thinking also about South Africa, but also international.
Yeah. Thank you. There's maybe the last question that on greater network and greater collaboration. Yes.
So, thank you very much for the question. I'll give you the example of Fondation Botnar in the frame of the mental health initiative and work stream that we have. So one point is that we really join the, for example, Mental Health International Alliance of Mental Health Research founder, and that we also discuss about the topic and the priorities. But one has to recognize that philanthropic foundations have actually a deed, a purpose. They need actually to also serve this, and it's about navigating these strategic, let's say, aims with what we can do with the partner. So basically, in the mental health initiative, what we are doing now is at the country level, bring the stakeholder together from the Ministry of Health to the people with lived experience that they develop their agenda, that they show where they want to go, what are their priorities. And for example, we can be flexible from Fondation Botnar to say, if other funders have the strategic fit, then they can take over this piece and co-fund this piece. So we try, in that case, to show what is needed, what the country wants, what stakeholders are aligned on, and we can be flexible on how, from our fund, we can complement this to the other. But in general, it's not always so easy because every philanthropy has their need and need also to respond to that. So, but yeah, we try.
Yes, thank you so much for that response. I'm going to now ask, as we close the session, okay, just 30 seconds, please.
I also want to answer the partnership, especially for the how to develop the regional partnership. First, you have to fund the financial resources from not only inside the country and the African, but also globally. Not only the government financial support, but also you can fund the private financial support, like Gates Foundation. And also, the second point is you have to find the right partners from the global. And for example, in the last 4 years, we helped almost half of public universities in South Africa to fund Chinese partners and let them connect each other and work each other and set up the joint research centers and apply the joint research projects supported by both DSI and the Ministry of Science and Technology. And also, this year we also help manage Children's Hospital in Johannesburg and introduce the Beijing Children's Hospital to them. They let them cooperate each other. So if you want to find Chinese partner, just let us know. We can do our best for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Minister Councillor. I'm going to ask our panelists to just give us their one-liner punch words as we conclude this session. And I'm going to start from that other end as the last words from your side. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Yudi, and thank you for the opportunity to be part of the panel. I think my takeaway will be it's all about partnerships. I presented in a session yesterday, and one of the questions I received from the floor was, are we a funder? And I said, no, we are not a funder, we are a partner. We are there to partner with you for us to see how we can both partner to be able to respond to our joint challenges. Challenges are global in nature. They are cross-border. And I think through partnerships, we'll be able to respond to those common challenges. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So here I will really follow my own agenda, and I will advertise for the YouGood initiative that, that everybody looks at the webpage. We want really people from physicists to social scientists to join force and to rediscover, I would say, what is about this partnership, what is relational, and what it needs to be successful across the different sectors.
Right. Thank you. Minister Councillor, one line. Closing remarks. Very short.
For closing remarks, I think I do believe that cooperation between African continents with outside of the world will be a very good future, especially in STI area. We have to use the STI to solve the global challenge and also the local challenge. And also, if you just rely on yourself, you can't get the goal. So you have to cooperate with international partners. And China will make our, not only the government, but also the private area, private company would like to cooperate with South African and also African countries. Cooperate each other to solve the big challenge you faced. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Commissioner.
Thank you very much indeed, and thank you to my fellow panelists. It's been great listening to you all. So I mentioned in my remarks the International Science Partnerships Fund. It has 4 themes: planet, health, tech, and talent. So I think that's probably where I would leave us. If we don't get those 4 things right, especially if we don't get the first one right, because we've only got one planet. And I'm conscious that as we're sitting here now, there's a rather bigger room of people sitting in Dubai at COP28, for example. Everything we have talked about is going to be fundamental to dealing with those challenges, but we have to decide how we're going to live on this one planet together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep turning this off? No, we didn't. Okay, good. Yeah, I would just follow up on that with one thought, that I think we have a big opportunity and a big need to really be courageous in structuring partnerships to tackle the stickiest problems, including climate and all of the pressing social problems, and use those partnerships, structure those partnerships to really right some of the power imbalances that would have been a problem for past partnerships.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I agree with everything that has been said. One key point is that I think we need to advocate for stronger and meaningful collaborative initiatives between and within the African continent. That's a critical element. And the key part is that this has to be based on trust. It has to be meaningful, taking note of the fact that it takes time to build collaborations. Just the last point is that I think we need to educate our collaborators as well. At times you find that in the quest for collaboration, somebody will say, oh, can you bring the whole of Africa into this collaboration? You're like, all of Africa, 54 countries. How do I do that? Again, it's our duty to educate our collaborators. Thank you.
Thank you.
So yeah, looking out at the audience here, it's incredibly diverse in terms of whether that's the way people are dressed, colours, hairstyles. It's kind of a microcosm of the whole world in a way. And I think that's one of the beauties of South Africa, within Africa, is it is that meeting place. It is the rainbow nation. And that's what we need in science. That's what we need for science to address the global challenges, is we need all those different people with all the diversity and all the diverse opinions to be working together. I think South Africa is doing very well on that. It's not an easy track. It's much easier to do things when everyone is the same. But I think you need to continue with that. You need to continue listening and learning from others, but you also need to do more of the leading as well, and I think you're starting to do that. So keep on the right track.
Yeah, I think we're also learning a lot from wherever you are in Africa. But for my last two things. First is the Department of Science and Innovation of the Government of South Africa is a truly extraordinary partner. And I really want to thank the department because they are really crucial into a lot of things that we're doing. Second, and that is related, we are looking forward to very positive future engagement here with the government of South Africa. And we're discussing that with many departments on green hydrogen, for example, on batteries development, for example, or on critical raw materials. And the foundational stone for that is, in fact, research and innovation. So that's why meetings like today are so incredibly important. And only in that way can we support local value addition, so that's technology transfer, knowledge transfer, skills transfer here in South Africa. Thank you.
Maybe it's my turn to say I agree with all the comments of the panelists, because now I'm the other end of the line. But be ambitious, audacious. You have resources. Often we think of Africa, natural resources and so on. South Africa, Africa, resources, younger generation. Your population is very young. We must make sure that we help support them properly. It's the future of science globally.
Thank you. Mine are two recommendations. One is science diplomacy. It's very clear to us that STI partnerships are very complex. They are really knowledge intensive. To really manage them, you require some specialized skills. I don't think everybody, not all scientists, not all research managers can get into forming and governing effective partnerships. Can we put some more resources into science diplomacy? And I'm looking at the DG there. There is a science diplomacy hub here. Can we really get, and donors, can we fund that so that we have an African science diplomacy platform? I think the last recommendation is focusing a bit more on the technology and innovation partnerships. Most of the partnerships that we come across are science partnerships. They are very important. Can we also work on technology and innovation partnerships so that we get products out? And it goes back again to the issue that my sister raised about COVID and so on. We focus a lot on science, but we need to invest a bit more in technology and innovation partnerships. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've heard as keywords partnership, collaboration, cooperation, and one of the key things that I always talk about is we are all in this one boat, and the importance about the boat is the planet that we all live in. However, this boat has got a lot of holes in it, and with the holes, it's the reflection of the challenges that the world is facing. And if you're going to close one hole and not deal with the other, the boat will still sink. So the cooperation is therefore needed, and the partnership, hence we had this diverse, distinguished panelists that gave us all the elements of the different ways in which we could close the different holes within the very boat. So I don't know about yourself, but I really enjoyed the session. And I want to say thank you so much to my panelists and for really honoring also the timelines that they had. But I want us to give them a round of applause and thank you so, so much. Thank you so much.
Great job. It's not easy with all these people.
Thank you. We still have a bit more of our program to go, Science Forum participants. So thank you to Ms. Yudi Mabuza and panelists for an engaging discussion on a very important topic. As the Department of Science and Innovation, we value our cooperation in the landscape and internationally, and we seek to strengthen this as we implement our Decadal Plan. So moving straight along to the next segment of the program, I'd like to invite our DG, DG Mjorka, who will be doing the presentation of the awards. We have the Grassroots Innovation Awards, and I'm also inviting Dr. Mboneni Mope, who's our Deputy Director General for Socioeconomic Innovation Partnerships, who will announce the winners of these awards.
Good afternoon already. We're just going to go on with the Grassroots Innovation Awards, and I just hope that the team is warmed up and ready to do what they need to do. The Department of Science and Innovation, in the latest white paper for science, technology, and innovation, we've been very intentional in putting the issue of inclusiveness as one of the pillars of the work of the department. That is in terms of making sure that the innovations include those who are normally marginalized and left out, but also that the very same people are also the beneficiaries of the actual innovation. So they innovate and they also benefit. So as we're going to announce them, the objectives of the awards themselves is to recognize, celebrate, and award excellence and project impact. And this is under the programs that we run, the Grassroots Innovation Program, the Living Labs programs, and the MLEG programs. And I'm also excited to say that we also now have partnership with Insurance Sector Education and Training Authority. Later you'll see the CEO, Ms. Gugun Kise, joining us. So I'm going to go straight into the first awardee. And this is the Outstanding Women Grassroots Innovator Award. In the third place, we have the winner, who is Mpho Muntali, for the project that you see there. Mpho is going to walk away with 20,000 rands. The Outstanding Women Grassroots Innovator Award in second prize. And this is going to be Zama Ngamu. Zama walks away with 30,000 rands. Congratulations. The first prize, and I understand in absentia, the Outstanding Women in Grassroots Innovator Award goes to Wusisiwe Ndabana. I understand that our very own Busisiwe Ntuli is going to take advantage of the name and take the award. And Busisiwe, I don't know which Busisiwe, is going to walk away with 50,000 rands. And I need to say to Busi, our own Busi, that we are busy with the lifestyle audit. So if we see anything, I will know that the 50,000 rand has gone missing. As we continue, the Outstanding Youth Grassroots Innovation Award. Third prize winner, that goes to Mr. Kemisho Matolo. As you can see, the walk is loaded with 20 grand. So, as we read their names, just also have a look at what they have actually delivered because it's being displayed. The second prize, Outstanding Youth Grassroots Innovator Award, goes to Tibuho Masobe. That's 30,000 rands for Tibuho. In first prize, Outstanding Youth Grassroots Innovation Award, that goes to, and I think we've got another issue here, but we'll deal with that later. Sipiwo Peace Mjwaha. Spiwo is going to be walking away with 50 grand. Now we go to the Disability Innovation Award. I didn't hear that. On third prize, Kylie Naidu. I'm going to repeat what is written there. This is a very exciting one. A solution that controls a wheelchair by means of a human voice. This is a well-deserved 20,000 rands. In second prize of the Disability Innovation Award, this goes to Lubabalo Mbeki. Access is a very important thing in the world that we live in. And when we start to see solutions, when we travel in other places, you see buses that come through, and when they stop, they open up that kind of access issue where you can see even those that are on wheelchair, they can come through. And this solution is going to be one of those exciting ones. And this has got a tag of 30,000 grand. first prize, the Disability Innovation Award. This is one that I also like very much. It goes to Dear Hotsiane. Dieho walks away with 50,000 rands. And when we talk about digitization, this is the one innovation that is going to make sure that we leave no one behind. Now, we also have looked at these innovations and decided that we're going to also classify their areas of impact and see where the most impact is. And in that instance, we have identified one particular solution which is going to win the Gender-Based Violence-Based Solution Award. And this goes once more to Ms. Busisiwe Ndabana in absentia. And this earns her another 50,000 rands. And I must clarify as well that she didn't abscond, but she had an emergency that she couldn't get out of. So we want to make that clear. Now, joining the Director General on the podium, we're going to ask the CEO of Inseta, Ms. Gugu Mkhize. So the Insurance Sector Education and Training Authority and the Technology Innovation Agency joined hands and had an agreement to look at innovation challenges that are in the insurance-related field. So this partnership are about identifying and developing innovative solutions addressing challenges faced by insurance industry and related services sector resulting from the impact of the fourth industrial revolution and the COVID-19 pandemic. So we therefore are, in this instance, being responsive to the challenges that we face even as we move in the fourth industrial revolution. The insurance sector international learning trip of 80,000 rand is the reward. And we have the winner. In this instance, we are going to call Luvuyo Ndiki. Now, for an insurance sector international learning trip worth 80,000 rands, we are going to call Siyabonga Mkholo. Now, for an insurance sector international trip worth 80,000 rands, I'm going to call Toba Mabunda. And now, for an insurance sector international trip, I'm going to call Tulek Ajas. You've just earned yourself a trip worth 80,000 rands. Sorry, an international trip, by the way. For an insurance sector international learning trip, we are going to call Pramod Pentelia. This is another international trip worth 80,000 rands. Thank you. Last but not least is for an insurance sector international learning trip, which is going to go to Mfundo Sope. And yes, we are into crypto. And we are applying it in one of the critical sectors, agriculture. Thank you, I'm done.
Thank you, DDG. Now we move into a second set of awards. Many of you spent the last few days walking through the exhibitions, engaging with our exhibitors, having discussions about their products, their services, how they contribute to the national system of innovation. And today we'd like to have a recognition of some of the exhibitors at the Science Forum South Africa 2023, and also we will announce the winner. So the first recognition we want to call up to the podium, and DG Mjoka will present an award, is UCT MedTech. If you've not engaged with them, feel free to walk through the exhibition after the formal closing. The second exhibitor I'd like to call up, also in special recognition of their stand, is the South African Radio League and AMSATA. So when you entered the CSIR on the left, you would have seen amateur radio, and that was quite interesting for you to engage with them later on. The third recognition is an international partner. This is the Embassy of Finland. Finland celebrated their Independence Day earlier this week, so congratulations. And the winner of our Science Forum South Africa 2023 most engaging, most interactive exhibition stand was Lou Afrique. So we asked them. Congratulations. Congratulations to all the best exhibition stands, and thank you, DG. Before we bring this program to a close, we'd like to invite Ms. Mandy Small on, who's the president of the South African Science Journalists Association and the vice president of the World Federation of Science Journalists, to announce the website for the World Conference on Science Journalists, which will be taking place in South Africa in 2025.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here representing science journalists, the people who shine a light on science, who tell the stories about science, who hold science accountable, who make science meaningful to the people who are its beneficiaries, and who very often are the funders, directly or indirectly, of science. So people who serve the science community as well as the public. On Wednesday afternoon, the president of the World Federation of Science Journalists told you all, Milica Momcilovic told you all that we had won the bid as South Africa to host the World Conference of Science Journalists in Tshwane in 2025. And I have to tell you, that was an intimidating and terribly exciting moment, because this is the first time this conference has ever been held on the continent of Africa. So it's a real achievement. And while it won't be as big as SFSA, it is probably 1,000 delegates that we will be bringing to this country. And just at a time when we need to support science journalism, just at a time where Africa and the world needs to have the information and the insight into what's going on in science to be able to make informed decisions as citizens about things ranging from climate change disasters to pandemics to whatever. Science underpins so many of the crises and challenges and excitements of our world. So I'm here to announce that we are launching our website, wcsj2025.org. We've been hard at work already with our wonderful partner, Science Diplomacy Capital for Africa, who have been so helpful. And I want to thank them and the World Federation of Science Journalists for their support. I am fizzing with ideas after spending a few days here. And I hope that you will go and look at the website and start fizzing with ideas too, to support, perhaps even to collaborate, to assist with proposals, ideas, things that can help science journalists understand and report science better. And I think that's it from me. 3 cheers for us, and thank you for listening.
I'd like to now invite the Deputy Director General of International Cooperation and Resources, Mr. Dan de Toor, to formally close Science Forum South Africa 2023.
Thank you, Vinnie. And please be assured it's not going to be a speech, a closing speech, but it would be amiss for us to conclude a forum without just a few words of thanks. Now, when we as the team met and we talked about this year's forum, we invented the new 3 triple Ps for what will constitute the success, what we needed for the forum. And in the first instance, we needed people. And without people, there is no forum. So in the first instance, I would like to thank everyone who made the time, who invested their time over the past 5 days to contribute to the forum. Specific mention also to our international guests who specifically traveled to South Africa to the forum. So to all forum participants, our most sincere appreciation. And that's all of you. And secondly, the forum needed a program, we needed substance, we needed content, and we needed hard work in preparing that. And it's always dangerous to mention individuals, but it would be amiss for me not to specifically mention my colleague, Ms. Winnie Pillay, who steered and led our organizing committee this year, joined by Toto Machadiso and Bronwyn Cadel de Ponte from the CSIR as the steering committee of the Science Diplomacy Capital for Africa. And I know Vinnie, Toto, and Bronwyn, you are also the proxies for the rest of the DSI and CSR teams who contribute to the event. So to everyone who co-created, the organizers also of the different events, the exhibitors, the logistics, the support staff, the staff who, as always, work here at a CSI Convention Center and receive us our most sincere appreciation. Thank you very much. And after the people and after the program, we needed a purpose. There must be a reason why we're doing all of this. And I think Minister Nzimande gave us that reason in his opening speech on Wednesday afternoon. We do this because through science we want to make a difference. And that's what we did this week. We brought people together, formed new partnerships to talk about science, but most importantly also to inspire action. So that would be my parting words. Yes, we've ignited conversations about science, but let's now proceed to work together to put science into action at the service of our societies. So with that, Science Forum South Africa 2023 formally closes, but please do enjoy the rest of the afternoon with us at the networking reception. Thank you very much.